Welcome into another Gun Talk Hunt. I'm your host, KJ. Most of the people know me by KJ. It's funny how long these monikers stick with you, and it's just, that's who I am. I'm KJ, and this is Gun Talk Hunt. We are brought to you by the good folks of ATN, and that's the future of optics. And today's Gun Talk Hunt, we're going to be talking about going full circle on hunting, and a lot of you know what that means, but for our next guest, it means something a little bit more. And joining me today from Lipsey's, and by the way, I am wearing a Lipsey's hat, is Mr. Brett Frey. Brett, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today, KJ?
Man, I'm doing good. I can't complain. It's a beautiful day, a little rainy, but I'll take it. We always need rain. Just don't want it to hang around too long, or it's going to rise. The creeks are rising around here. So we launched out a few weeks ago your article called Full Circle. And this article, I've actually been sitting on it quite a while. Probably longer than I should, because it's such a good piece written by you. Kind of give a rundown of it, and then we'll just dive right into just talking about hunting.
Yeah, so I wrote the article. It's about when my son, Douglas, killed his first whitetail, which it was October of 2020. So I had to think about when that was. So it's a little over a year ago that he shot that deer, and just kind of going back through my memories of shooting my first whitetail with my dad, and really a pretty not a pretty special moment, a very special moment in my life. And Douglas, my son, is named after my father, who passed away when I was 18. And he's a special kid, and it was a great memory.
And man, those first hunts are something else. The first deer, I think, is big in a kid's life. And it's not necessarily, I don't know, it's not it for them. It seems like a even bigger step. For my son, it was a massive step, and I'm sure for Douglas it was too.
Yeah, he and I, he's my sidekick. He comes with me everywhere now. I don't hunt very much by myself anymore, because I just really love having him with me. And it's fun to watch him experience everything. It's really like reliving all these moments again through him. So he's been, I took him on his first duck hunt when he was 4. Obviously he didn't have his own gun then, but he came with me and sat in the blind, and he still talks about that hunt today. He's 9 now, and he's been on lots of hunts, but we had started deer hunting. I had him tagging along with me. I think he came on his first deer hunt when he was 6. And then I started letting him, carry a gun. He's my son, and he is super uber interested in being outside and hunting and animals and shooting. And I'm very involved in guns and shooting. So
just slightly.
He's been around it his whole life. And he is, I would put him up against a lot of adults as far as being safe and knowing how to handle a gun and knowing what to do. So he had been hunting for, I think that was his second year of deer hunting, and we had been on a lot of hunts and a lot of unsuccessful hunts, hadn't seen a whole lot of deer, and we were actually hunting with my father-in-law on that hunt where he killed his first deer, and it was just the culmination of a lot of hunts together, and being there and hunting with my father-in-law. It meant a whole heck of a lot.
Man, I bet, especially after seeing not a lot of deer, because I know even me as an adult, if I go out a couple of times and I don't see anything, I'm kind of like, I start to check out, honestly. And for a kid to have that much fortitude to sit there and muscle through it, power to him, man.
Yeah, he is pretty unique in that way. I can take him hunting, and we'll sit in a deer stand for 3 hours, and when we go to leave, he's upset because we have to leave.
Yeah.
He loves to hunt. He reminds me a lot of me when I was a kid because I really loved to hunt. If you ask anybody who knew me when I was a kid, that's all I thought about, all I wanted to do. And he definitely got that passed on to him. He loves to duck hunt. He loves to deer hunt. He loves to turkey hunt. And that's, his friends at school, they all know Douglas as the hunting kid, because he goes to school and he brings pictures of what he killed, and he makes animal noises. People know him for that. So
that's a good thing to be known as. I mean, he ain't known as a stinky kid. I mean, I know that's a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of it for sure.
Heck yeah, I would be too. I mean, hey, one of these days, these girls are going to start taking notice of that kind of thing. So you better watch out.
Yeah.
So Brett, was your dad uber into the outdoors, and did you kind of carry that passion forward?
Yeah, my dad is who introduced me to hunting. I wouldn't say that my dad was uber interested in hunting. He was super interested in bringing me and my brother and letting us experience hunting. He always made the effort to take us. He was my best friend.
Yeah.
He was a great dad. And so, my goal is to hopefully be as good of a dad to Douglas as he was to me.
Yeah.
So today, there's lots of times, KJ, I live in Louisiana. You live in Louisiana, and I don't know how much you duck hunted this year, but it's been pretty terrible, our duck hunting season. And Douglas, he wanted to go duck hunting, so we would have days. I mean, he and I went like 7 hunts, and I think we killed 4 ducks between those 7 hunts. It was just bad.
Yeah.
And we were having to wake up early in the morning, drive a couple hours and hunt. And he's asking me, Dad, can we go again? Can we go again in the morning? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to go. But in my head, I tell myself there's going to be a day when I want him to come with me, and he may not want to go. So if he wants to go, I'm making the sacrifice, because my dad did that for me.
Yeah.
So, that's the goal, is to be with him as much as I can.
And that was a big focus of the article too, Full Circle, that was submitted by Brett to Gun Talk, and one of the things that I appreciated about it was you put your knowledge aside and said, you know what, we're going to go hunt, but because you obviously, I mean, you're in the field enough, you're a part of these groups, that like the duck hunting has just not been good, and now that's a whole nother topic that we won't dive into here. But there's talk about, ducks stopping short, and that's a whole nother thing. That's why we're having crappy hunts down here in the South. However, duck hunting is not, it's one of the more difficult ones, because you're getting up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to get to your spot first. And, how does he handle that? Is he an early morning kid? Is he one of those that pops up and is ready to go?
That depends. If I'm waking him up in the morning for school, he doesn't pop up. If I wake him up and he knows he's going hunting, he gets right up out of bed. So I don't have any issues with him. When we can wake up 5 days in a row to go duck hunting or go deer hunting or something like that, and he'll pop out of bed every single time. But if I gotta wake him up to go to school, he's a little bit slower to get out of bed.
Yeah, the kid's a natural hunter. I mean, honestly, I kind of feel like I'm the same way. If something's not going to die that day, I have a little hard time rustling out of bed. But if I know there's a chance that I might put the beat on something, ooh, watch out! I'm up. I'm ready to go. So I have to ask, on these hunts, is there one thing that Douglas is like, hey, don't forget the X? Like, is it snacks? Is there a specific snack that, like, that's y'all's treat? What are you taking to the blind to entertain Douglas?
The funny thing is, I ask him pretty much every time, hey, buddy, do you want me to pack you some snacks or something? And he's like, nope, Dad, I'm good. He usually doesn't want anything. I pack something anyway, usually most of the time. But I don't have to pack anything. I don't have to bring an iPad or a Nintendo Switch or any of that. When we're hunting, he is locked in. He's locked in, and he's there to hunt. I mean, he gets on me like when we're duck hunting. Dad, you're not paying attention. I'm having to do all the watching. So he's zoned in. I don't have to bring anything. That's awesome. For him.
Yeah, my son, like, it's funny because we'll be going through the convenience store or whatever before we're headed out to the field or something, and he always gets something. Like it's typically like a Hershey's bar or something like that. Never eats it, never touches it, and I'm like, why am I the one eating this in the end? Like, save me some weight, man. Come on. But
yeah.
Well, the article is great. It is up on guntalk.com. If you can go watch it there, look at it. But Brett, thank you for sharing full circle. Hey, Gun Talk Hunt is also sponsored by Pyramyd Air, your number one resource, everything air gun, offering a wide variety of air gun and airsoft rifles, pistols, pellet guns, ammo, accessories. They've got it all. Perfect for backyards, the range, or even your next hunt. Visit pyramydair.com and enter code GUNTALKHUNT, all one word, for $10 off any $50 purchase. Plus, there's more. Free shipping with any purchase of $150 or more. Find your next hunting partner at pyramydair.com today. I want to get on to your fall. And you had one heck of an elk hunt, and that sucker is monstrous. Tell us a little bit about your fall, because it looks like you had a great fall.
Yeah, like I said, I don't do a whole lot of hunting by myself anymore. Most of the time I'm hunting with Douglas or trying to get things ready for him. And he had a fantastic fall too. But I did go elk hunting in Utah in early October, and I killed a really nice 6x6 elk. It was a fantastic time of the year to be out there. The elk were screaming. Saw a lot of elk, and ended up killing a really, really nice one. It wasn't super cold either. It was the temps were nice. It was just really fun to be out there. That's one of my favorite things to do. I've hunted the West a pretty fair amount, hunted mule deer and elk, and I love hunting the West and being in the mountains and hiking around and seeing game and tracking down elk and mule deer. That's probably some of my favorite things to do.
Oh, 100%. If you haven't gone out west in the fall, whether you choose to hunt or not, you owe it to yourself to just look at the scenery in the fall. Now, as it gets later in the fall, I would recommend beware of the winter months ahead, because that place turns into an absolute nightmare for people who are cold adverse. Not 100% for me, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I've been out there in Wyoming when it's brutal cold,
and that wind blows.
The wind just cuts you.
It does.
It's like being in a hairdryer that's blowing cold air.
And it's right, and there's nothing to stop it. Okay, Wyoming isn't this land of trees, and some areas there are a lot of trees, but where I'm hunting, which is actually around Douglas, Wyoming, there is nothing blocking the wind out there. You turn a deer from Louisiana out in the open in Wyoming, and he's going to lose his mind trying to find a tree. Like, he will not. Wyoming's fantastic overall. The state in general, just for hunting. It's one of my favorite states. I actually wrote an article that you guys put up. I think it's a couple years ago on a whitetail that I killed there. That's one of the things that I think people don't really think about Wyoming for whitetail hunting, but there's some fantastic whitetail hunting in Wyoming as well. Oh yeah. Well, and Wyoming's actually, it's funny we get onto this Wyoming talk, because the application process is ready. It is ready. Like, so if you're looking to put in your tags for Wyoming, whether that's antelope, deer, or elk, they are due now. So go on to the Wyoming Game and Fish Department and start signing up. It's really easy. If you have questions, please reach out to me. I will answer them. I'll tell you everything. But Wyoming is one of the few places where you can really do it all.
Yeah, I mean, there's great antelope hunting, mule deer, elk, whitetail. You know, there's a ton of. They have great turkey hunting too. I've turkey hunted in Wyoming, and fantastic. You can shoot Merriam's in Wyoming.
Yeah, and that's and what's great about it is Wyoming is one of the largest like land masses as far as like public land hunting. So public access, you don't have a difficult time finding somewhere public to hunt. Just check the local regulations and the state regulations, and you can do it. And
I think there's more antelope in Wyoming than there are people. So
100%. I think it's like 2/3 the world's antelope or pronghorn population is actually in Wyoming. So if you're looking for something easy to do, they're thicker than thieves out there. I mean, it's a horrible like mixture of like an overrun state of like rats. Like they're everywhere. Like everywhere you turn, there's antelope.
Yeah, and they're fun to hunt.
They are. They're a little bit different, you know. I mean, they're a little bit different creatures. They're kind of funny. The one I took this past year, in September on opening weekend, we have a whole video of it, and the antelope pretty much lost his mind. I don't know, Brett, if you actually watched that video, but it's actually like shocking what this antelope does. He just keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, I really wanted to test out this. You know, we were shooting the new Springfield
I think I
rifle.
did see that. You and Ryan were out there.
Yeah,
right?
it just kept coming in. Ryan got to shoot his at like, I don't know, 275 or something like that. You know, great shot. And mine just kept coming in, and I think I shot him at less than 20 yards. Come on, man.
you had this Springfield Waypoint rifle. You wanted to test out the range on it, and he comes into 20. You should have had your bow.
I should have had my bow. Maybe I could have shot 2 of them. I don't know. I've had to check the regulations, but my gosh, 20 yards. I mean, that should be an easy shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are kind of in application season. So how is your next fall shaping up? Because we're always looking forward as hunters, and everyone knows this. If you're a hunter, if you're getting into hunting, you're always like, when that season ends, you're always starting to forecast what your next step is. So where are you going? Where are you going to this fall?
I really haven't. I don't have anything planned at this point. You know, I every year I buy preference points in a few states, mainly like Wyoming, because I'm trying to buy preference points. I don't have any necessarily plans to go back right now, but Wyoming, I believe you can share your points with like your son. So I'm trying to get enough points to maybe do that with him one day, with Douglas one day. Go out there and do something with him, but I don't have anything planned at this point. I usually go to Texas and hunt deer every year. And when I bring Douglas there, Douglas actually killed a really nice deer there this year, and I killed a nice one with my bow there as well. But don't have a ton planned at this point.
Well, on my agenda, and it's funny because Ryan and I were talking about this yesterday. We were sitting here chatting about it, and I was like, so if I go to Wyoming for an antelope hunt, I want to go, I really want to do a Wyoming mule deer hunt. And that's been on my bucket list forever. And I get so locked into like, okay, I'm going to do an antelope every year. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't leave myself a whole lot of room, but I still want to do the antelope. So I put in for a couple of difficult units for mule deer, and I sent it across, and I said, Ryan, guess what? I will receive a text message from my wife saying, hey, what's going on with the Wyoming charge? And so, yeah, sure enough, she texts me and says, hey, did you know there's 2 charges to Wyoming Game and Fish on our card? I was like, yeah, but don't worry, I probably won't draw out for the mule deer. And she gave me a thumbs up, and I'm like, but if I do draw, I'm in golden.
Yeah.
But
yeah, some of those are hard to get too.
They are. But you know what? You never know until you put in. And I'm going to tell you right now, one hunt that Brett, I really do want you to start putting in. And maybe actually what you ought to start doing is put Douglas in for it. And that's what I should start putting my sons in for it, is the Oklahoma elk hunt. It costs, I think
Oh, really?
right now, it's a once in a lifetime tag. Okay. Oklahoma has a couple of once in a lifetime tags, and it costs $5 to enter, or basically to get a preference point. Now, if you draw, you will be charged, you'll have to pay all your licenses fees at that time. But I believe it's only $5 to enter, and it's a once in a lifetime draw. And it's in the Wichita Mountains in western Oklahoma, and it's one of the best kept secrets that I am just spilling my guts on right now. And this is probably the stupidest thing I do, but there are a handful of guys every year that's like, this is my first time to put in, and I drew. And you're going to shoot a nice elk.
Wow.
Yeah. But I highly recommend it. Go on and check that out. But yeah, you can hunt elk in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there's some of these states that you don't think about having elk that actually have some pretty good elk hunting. Kentucky was like that a few years back. I used to put in for Kentucky for elk, and they had a pretty good elk herd at one time. I don't know if it's still great or not, but there's some states that for sure they have really good elk hunting that you don't think about.
Oh yeah, Kentucky's one of them, and wasn't Wisconsin on there or somewhere like that? A northern state. But some of those states, there's some cool draws out there, and just going back to the whole Oklahoma theme here, because Oklahoma has a traditional archery hunt on a ammunition plant, and you can only traditional archery hunt there. So that's another cool one that you can definitely draw for that. But if you fancy yourself a traditional archer, I highly recommend putting in that. But yeah,
well, I know Oklahoma's got a fond place in your heart too.
Well, it does. But those are two hunts that every year I put in for. Those, I mean, no matter what, that was always my dream, was to hunt one of those. I might be an old man by the time I get there, but you can draw early. It's just a luck of the draw deal. But my other hunts for this fall, I hope my wife doesn't watch this. I would love to make it back up to British Columbia if they ever open the borders back up. Iowa whitetail is on the board this year. I think we're putting in for that, so that'll be a good one. Have you ever?
Yeah, I started buying preference points in Iowa too. I've never whitetail hunted in Iowa, but I'd like to at some point.
Hey, it's time to cash them in. I mean, seriously, and in a few years, my goal is I'm going to say, I'm going to put in for 3 or 4 years, because usually that's about how long some of these really high end units take to get in. I'm going to take 2 weeks, the first starting October 30th, and I'm going to go till November 14th, and I just want to hunt that sweet November time in Iowa. I want to get a feel for it, what it's like during archery season, because I've been hitting it in late season, but man, hitting that rut with a bow in my hand would be beautiful.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be up in a tree whenever the rut's going full swing.
Yeah, and especially when you're in these areas, you never know what is going to cross your path, and I think that's one of the big things about hunting, is you just never know what's out there.
Yep, for sure. Especially a place like Iowa. You could have a 180-inch deer walk by you.
I'd pass out in the tree. I'll be honest with you. But no, and that's one thing that I learned from some Western hunters, some pretty prolific riders. They start putting their kids in for preference points early. And they've put in for, all these high end units, the very hard to draw units. And that's kind of a little hunt tip. If you're looking to really get your kids in the outdoors, man, buy them a preference point to a unit you've always wanted to hunt, put in with them. And by the time you guys draw, they're going to be ready to hunt. But they put their kids in for all these hunts too. And they're sitting at, 17, 18 years old, and they've got, 10 preference points already for a hard to draw unit, and that puts them ahead. So
yeah, for sure. Cause a lot of times it takes so long to build up enough preference points to get drawn for one of these units, or unless you get just absolutely lucky, you're getting, it's hard to do some of these hunts, like sheep hunt, that's one of the things that's on the top of my bucket list. I really want to do a sheep hunt. at some point. But some of these sheep hunts are just so hard to get drawn on.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. Start drawing preference points for Douglas now. By the time he's old enough to do it, he'd at least have a pretty good pile of them.
Well, I mean, crap. How cool would it be if he's 15 or 16 and sits there and happens to draw out? Now, man, he is in he's going to be like in peak physical condition at that point, ready to do this stuff.
Yeah.
He's not going to be old.
Yeah, that's
old
the thing on a hunt like that. It gets difficult. You the older you get to go up there and hunt sheep in the mountains, that's a physically taxing hunt.
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
It's a young man's game. I'm telling you, like a hunt like that.
Yep.
I mean, it's tough. And if you see these guys who go on these hunts that are older, they're prepping like a half a year ahead of time of their hunt because they understand like the toll it's going to take on the body. So yeah. But yeah, crazy stuff, man. Well, Brett, thank you so much for joining us today on Gun Talk Hunt. Really appreciate your time. And man, thanks for passing it forward. This is a gift that you're giving Douglas that he may not understand completely now, but everybody who's watching you guys, and there's a lot of people out there doing it, you're giving him a wonderful gift.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you sharing the story. I'm hopeful that one day I'll be hunting with Douglas and his sons or daughters as well. And we really need to do more to expand our hunting base and get more kids involved. It's a great thing, a great sport for kids to be involved in. Get them outside. Douglas would tell you he'd rather be doing that than doing anything else. So it's a great opportunity to get them out and do something that you can spend time one-on-one with them, and I sure want to see our hunting heritage live for a long time.
Yep. And with guys like you out in the field and guys like you mentoring the youngsters of our time, it will live on, and hunting is full circle. Thanks for being on Gun Talk Hunt, and thank you for listening. Always remember, be safe and be alert.